Hi guys, welcome back to another guided reading lesson, and I'm so excited to read this book with you guys today because one of my favorite kind of books to read are mystery books. Those are my favorite kind of books. I love a good mystery and figuring out what happened in the book, and that's what we're going to do today. Our book is a fictional book. It's called The Mother Goose Caper, and it's a mystery book. So in the story, there's going to be clues, and that's kind of what you're going to write about too at the end. You're going to write about the clues that you hear in the story. So our book is called The Mother Goose Caper, and a caper is just another word for like a mystery. So there's something you've got to solve in the story. So we'll find out more about that when we get to our book. But before we read our book, we're going to do our word work, and today we're going to do a breaking words activity. So make sure you grab your letters, and we'll look at what word we're going to make in just a second. All right, so let's get ready for our breaking words lesson. What I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and make this word that you see. We're not going to say the word yet because we're going to practice breaking it apart and putting it back together to figure out the word. But go ahead and make this word and make sure you keep all of your other letters close by because you'll need a couple more letters as we do our breaking words activity, okay? So if you need to, press the pause button and then press play whenever you're ready to get started. All right, you all ready? Let's go ahead and start with our breaking words activity. So remember, the whole reason that we're doing this is because you guys are really starting to get to a lot of books that have really big words, kind of like this one. And we want to learn how we can look for chunks in that word and kind of break it apart in our head and put it back together and blend it to be able to figure out that word. So that's what we're practicing doing, okay? All right, so hopefully you already have this word put together. Remember, keep your other letters close by because you'll need a couple more in just a second as we do some different words, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and we're gonna break apart our word at the vowel, the first vowel. So the first vowel is what? That I, good. So we're gonna break our word at the vowel. So I'm gonna break apart the beginning, and then I'm gonna break it apart at the end too, the ending. So I'm going to break it at the vowel, and I'm going to break it at the ending. So go ahead and make sure you've done that. Remember, if I'm ever moving too fast, just press the pause button, okay? All right, so I'm going to point to it, and then you say it with me what sound that says. Remember, this is a hunk and chunk that we just learned, right? W-H, W-H, w, w, w. Good. All right, you ready? So I'm going to point to it, and you say it. You ready? Whoop. Oh, I see a hunk and chunk. I-R says I-R, right? So put that L on the end. Earl. Ing. Good, let's do it again. You ready? Whoop. Earl. Ing. All right, let's put it back together. Push those letters back. And then let's put it together. You ready? Whirling. What word? Whirling, which I know sounds like a silly word. That's kind of a word that we don't really use very much, but it is a word. It's a word that just means like kind of like you're twirling, like something's kind of whirling around. It's kind of moving around in a circle. So our word is what? Whirling. Very good. All right, let's try a couple more. So I want you to go ahead and scoot the WH to the side. You're still going to need the W, but I want you to go ahead and put an S in front of it. So we're going to switch it up and put an SW in the front. Remember, if you need more time, press the pause button. All right, you all ready? Let's break our word, and then we're going to say the different parts, and then we're going to put it back together. You ready? So break it at the vowel. So break it. Break the ending. Good job. All right, I'm going to point to it, and you say what sound it says. Remember this. We're blending those two sounds together. So think about what sound does the S say, what sound does the W say, and we're going to blend those sounds together. You ready? Sw, Earl, ing. Good. Let's do it again. You ready? Sw, Earl, ing. Very good. All right, put it back together. And then what word does that say? Swirling. Very good. Swirling. Awesome. What word does that say? swirling. And remember, just like I'm taking my finger and I'm finger sweeping under the word, I want you to do that too, okay? I know sometimes you might be watching me, and that's okay, but I also want you to practice looking at your word and finger sweeping and reading it, looking at what you've made too, okay? Not just watching me. All right, and you may already be doing that, and that's wonderful, but if you haven't, then I want you to try to start doing that, okay? All right, our last one that we're gonna make with our letters, we're gonna switch out the S for a T. So go ahead and do that. Switch out your S for a T. All right, you ready? So let's break it. So we're gonna break it at the vowel and break it at the ending, the other vowel. So break your word apart, and then I'm gonna point to the parts and you tell me what sound it says. You ready? Remember, we're gonna blend these sounds together. You ready? Tw, Earl, ing. Good, do it again. You ready? Tw, Earl, ing. All right, now put it back together. You ready? Put those sounds together. What's that word? Twirling. Very good, you guys. Say it one more time. And remember, you take your finger and look at your word and finger sweep under it. You ready? Twirling. Good job, you guys. All right, so we're done with our letters. The last thing we're gonna do, you're not making this with your letters. You're just looking up here at me, okay, at my board. I'm gonna write a word, and then this time in your head, you're gonna break it apart and put it back together, okay? All right, so take a look at that word. So in your head, break it apart at the first vowel that you see. So break it apart at the end, the other vowel. And you ready? And we're gonna put it back together. And then what word does that say? You ready? Squirting. What word? Squirting. Good. You have your squip, and then you have your, actually, you know what? This one's gonna be a little different. This one's gonna be a little different, you guys. We're gonna actually include, because the Q and the U usually will go together because it makes that qu sound, basically like the Q sound, but that U is gonna come after it. And then ert, and then een. So that one actually is a little different. You're actually breaking it at that hunk and chunk that we see, that IR. So let's look at that again. You ready? Squirting. What word? Squirting. Very good, you guys. Like I'm squirting something out of a bottle. All right, good job. Remember, the whole reason we're doing this is because when you guys are reading at home, or if you're reading our book in our lesson today, if you get to a word that you're not sure what it says, try breaking it apart in your head. Break it apart at the first vowel that you see. Break apart the ending if it has an ending on it, or like ED maybe, or even like ER or S, anything like that. And then put it back together and see if that helps you out, okay? All right, well, we're gonna take a break. Remember, take a break if you need to, because I know sometimes our lessons go a little long. So if you need to take a break, that's totally fine. Pause it and just come back to it sometime later, okay? All right, let's go ahead and get started with the next thing. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get ready to read our book, The Mother Goose Caper. So remember, caper is just another word for like a mystery. So our book is going to be giving us clues, and we're going to have to figure out what's happening and what the mystery is, and see if we can help solve it too. So in this book, Georgie Giraffe is a detective, and I'm not going to tell you what a detective is because that's going to be your vocabulary word, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But in this book, Georgie Giraffe is really good at figuring things out. And in this story, little dinosaur needs Georgie's help to solve a mystery. So he uses nursery rhymes to help him solve the mystery, and we're going to see what the clues lead little dinosaur and Georgie Giraffe to, and what the mystery, how they solve it, what the mystery is. So let's go ahead and get started. Now you know that we're going to read the book and then we're going to write about it at the end. And we want to plan at kind of as we're reading for our writing. It's going to help us make it a little bit easier when we go to write at the end if we kind of plan as we're reading. So remember, just like we did last week, we're going to put a line. You're going to grab a notebook. Because remember, good writers, strong writers write on a piece of paper. We're not going to write on a dry erase board, okay? I want you to grab a piece of paper, a notebook, and then I want you to draw a line across the middle, okay? And then that way it gives you space at the top to plan for your writing and then space at the bottom to actually write your sentences, okay? And then what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and write these pages down. Now remember that P just stands for page. It's an abbreviation. And then I want you to write these numbers down. Now this little thing right here, that's a symbol that means and. If you don't know how to make it, you can either write the word and or you can just write 3 and 4 and you know that those are the pages that you want to stop on, okay? So remember, pause the video if you need to write these down, okay? So do that, and then when we get to pages 3 and 4, I'm going to kind of show you what we're going to do and how we're going to plan for our writing. Because what we're going to write about is we're going to write about clues in the book and how they led to them solving the mystery. So we'll talk more about that in just a second, okay? All right, so make sure that you get your paper ready to go. Draw that line. Write these numbers down so that you know what pages to kind of stop on. And then we'll go ahead and get started, okay? All right, so before we get into all of this, I wanted to really quickly pop in and let you know that your vocabulary word is right on this page. In fact, it's in the very first sentence. It's right here. And our vocabulary word this week is detective. So I'm going to give you a little hint. You're still going to use context clues, use the pictures, use the text and the words to help you figure out what this word means. But I would actually wait until you get done reading the whole book to really think about what that word means. Because if you just read the words on this page and look at this picture, it may not be as obvious. That means like it may not just really stand out to you what it means. So as you're reading the book, be thinking about, what do you think the word detective means? What is it that Georgie Giraffe is doing? So make sure that you think about that as you're reading, and then that way you'll be ready to fill out your vocabulary organizer when you go back to Seesaw, okay? All right, let's go ahead and keep reading. Okay, so what we're going to do when we write is we're going to write about the clues in the book and how those clues helped lead Dinosaur and Little Dinosaur and Georgie Giraffe to solve the mystery. That's what we're writing about. So on these 2 pages, what kind of stands out to me is just the fact that they're getting clues. That's the most important part of these 2 pages, is that Little Dinosaur is receiving these clues that is going to help him figure out the mystery. So to me, the most important word on these 2 pages is clues, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, next to where I've written pages 3 and 4, I'm going to write the word clues. So that's what I want you guys to do. We're going to write C-L-U-E-S. That U-E makes that ooh sound, clues. And then that way, when we go back to write at the end, I can look back at this and go, oh, that's right. At the beginning, they were getting clues to help them solve the mystery. So this will help me remember if I do this as I read, okay? So make sure you write that word down, and then make sure you've written these pages down, and stop at these pages and write down a word or two that's going to help you remember how they used the clues to help them solve the mystery. Write down an important word that'll help you remember that. Okay? And then we'll come back to this when you get done reading. Okay, guys, so I wanted to pop in really quickly and just remind you that whenever we're reading, we really want to read with good fluency. And that means that we're reading with expression. That means our voice is going up and down, and we don't sound like a robot, and we make our voice sound like how we think the character would sound. And we also want to read with good pacing, so not too fast and not too slow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read just page 10 for you guys, and I want you to listen how I try to read with really strong fluency. I'm going to change my voice, make it sound interesting. And even when I read the clue, because I know it's a nursery rhyme, I'm going to even kind of read it with some rhythm and some beat to it, okay? Just like we've talked about with our poem of the week. So just listen, because then when we're done, when I'm finished, I want you to practice reading that page again and see if you can read it kind of like Miss Bale did, okay? All right, just listen. And you can follow along too while I read. Little Dinosaur read the second clue. Clue 2. Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet, eating her curds and whey. What's a tuffet? Asked Little Dinosaur. I don't know, but we can ask Mrs. Spider, answered Georgie. Mrs. Spider? Why should we ask her? Asked Little Dinosaur. So do you see how I read with really good expression, and I even put some rhythm and beat to that nursery rhyme part that I read? Now what I want you to do is pause the video again, and I want you to practice reading page 10 and see if you can read it with some really good fluency, okay? All right, and then we'll keep reading. All right, are you guys ready to write about our mystery that we just read about? All right, I hope so, because we're going to start it off together, and then you guys are going to finish it on your own, okay? So hopefully as you read, you had a chance to stop at these pages and write down a word or two that reminded you of how they solved the mystery. So what were the clues that they got that helped them solve the mystery? But what we're going to do is we're going to actually do the opening sentence together. So you're going to write about each of the 3 clues on your own, but we're going to do the opening sentence together, because remember, anytime we do any kind of writing, we always want to introduce the writing to the reader. And if the reader is reading our writing about our book that we just read and they haven't read the book, well, we want them to know what's going on, and we want them to know the characters in the story and what happened. So that's what we're going to do, okay? All right, so when I look at the word that I wrote down when we read pages 3 and 4, and I remembered that they were getting clues to help them solve a mystery, well, that's what I want to say in my opening sentence, except I don't want to just use the word they. Yes, it'd be a lot quicker to just write the word they, but if my reader is reading my writing and they don't know who the characters are, then they don't know who I'm talking about if I just say they. So I want to use the character's name. So we're going to say Dinosaur and Georgie Giraffe, so we're going to use their names, solved the mystery by following the clues Monkey gave them. And then that kind of introduces what we're going to write about, the different clues that they got, okay? Now, if you want to, you can, if it helps you, you can do a 1 next to your sentence, but you don't have to. I just want you to see that this is what I'm writing is from those first pages that we read and that we kind of wrote down a word that would help us. So we're going to use those characters' names. So we're going to say Dinosaur and Georgie Giraffe solved the mystery by following clues, there's our big word, our important word, that Monkey gave them. And I know this is a longer sentence, okay? So I do want you to write this, okay? This really introduces our writing. So what I want you to do is go ahead and press the pause button, because I know everybody will probably need to do that. So press the pause button, write down, copy our sentence that we wrote together, and then when you're ready, press play, okay? All right, so hopefully you had a chance to copy our sentence, our opening sentence. So what you're going to do with your next 3 sentences is you're going to write and tell, how did Dinosaur and Georgie Giraffe solve the mystery? So what were the clues that they got that helped them solve the mystery? Or you could write about not just the clues they got, but where did the clues lead them? So like the first clue that they got led them to the 3 bags, right? That was the nursery rhyme that helped them get led to the 3 bags. So make sure that you write those 3 sentences telling how they solved the mystery, and then when you're finished, make sure you take a picture of it and upload it to your assignment on Seesaw, okay? I hope you had fun reading our mystery. I know, like I said before, those are my favorite kind of books. I love reading a good mystery, so I hope you guys enjoyed it too. All right, I can't wait to see all of your all's hard work. Great job.